Does all right mean you turned it
Uh,
on? Huh?
all right, you'll be live in three, two,
And
one.
y'all too?
Us two.
Okay.
Go.
All right. I want to see if I can see your face and do the switching and all that before I get going because I can't waste no time.
We up. It's
We up?
live. Yeah.
Well, why can't I see you?
Oh, I can show you me. Yeah, I go.
Okay. And let me see who else I need to see. There you go.
The other
Hey,
man.
Deborah, say something so I can make sure. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
I'm here, Mr.
All right. I love your beard. This is really cool. Let me go back to Dave. How you doing?
Hello.
King David, what's up, man? How you doing? Hey, listen, anybody who's watching, let me ask you, did you put us on the platforms, man?
We on everything.
Okay, we on everything, whatever that is.
Yep,
Hey,
Facebook,
hey,
YouTube.
listen up, you all. I just told them I wanted to do this probably 30 minutes ago or less than that. How long you known, David?
About 10 minutes. I thought.
About 10 minutes.
You just wanted to talk to me alone.
Hey, but and Deborah, I talked to him and said, hey, listen, man, Deborah and I had a conversation. And when we started talking, it so inspired me because he called me to say, Happy Father's Day. And when you said that, I said, oh my goodness, tomorrow is Father's Day. And as we began to talk, Deborah, so many things went through my head that I just began to write down little notes because, and then my wife gave me this T-shirt that says, I am stepdad. I'm not the stepdad. I'm the dad who stepped up. That's what it says. And so that right after we talked, Deborah, that came in the mail. And because I just told Jill, I said, hey, I think we got some kind of clothes here. I don't know what this is. And then she came down and said, hey, I want you to try these on because she got me a couple of them. And when I read it, man, I just started crying. And I read the T-shirts and I said, she dropped the mic on that one. And I said, you have no idea that I literally just left putting my files and stuff in order. And one of the things I went over, Deborah, was that I learned that there were four or five dads. There was the sugar daddy. There was the biological dad, which we call the sperm donor. There was the stepdad, who was the unsung hero. And there was the passive dad, and there was all these different dads. And to be the patriarch of the family, one of the things that happened with many of us, especially us who are of our race, is that fatherhood, it stopped. Not just in slavery, but it stopped in the 70s when they did the welfare system, and it was a systematic ploy against us. And so when you called Deborah and said, hey, Jehu, happy Father's Day, I was blessed because I'm just understanding some things about myself. And so what I did was I went and wrote some notes down and I said, Deborah, I don't know when we talked, and Deborah, just remind me, how did this come about? You and I, we were just having a conversation. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. We were just having a conversation, and then you said, I got the idea. You say, call your brother up and say we can do a broadcast.
That's it. Mm-hmm. And I said, I said, just call him up. And so I wrote these down and you guys can jump in whenever you want. There's no rhyme or reason, order or anything to it. And I'm just going to give you some thoughts I had. And I'm glad that I can do this with you all. And then you bless me. I'm considering this my Father's Day gift, David. And you told me that Sweet Cherie made this this mix for me. And it's from the Matrix, but it's about what we call it, Club to Death.
Club to Death.
And every time I hear this music, I know it's time to move. Now, what I did not expect is to see both of y'all come on here and your beards is almost as thick as mine. That shocked me. I was like,
Rona.
and you're handsome. You're almost as handsome as me, but you have yet to get your gray hair. And so you're closer, King David. And so once you sent me this song that I can now play off my iPad, and Dave, you have trained me well. Anybody who doesn't know, King David has just gotten married within the last year or so, and he has become a real man as of being married to Kelly. And so I'm very blessed, and your training has been well, man. And so I'm gonna turn this down a little bit, and I just want to flow. You all heard me teach a while, and I made a vow. How old are you, Dave?
30.
30. I made a vow at 31, 32. It's probably about 32. Jill and I, we couldn't have children, and I made a vow that even if I can't have biological children, I'm going to pour my life into as many men as I can. And because I said, if I had had my own son, I knew I said, God, I think you're letting me know you don't want me to have my own seed in terms of a son right now, because you don't want me. You want me to put my time. If I had my own seed, I would put all my time in him. And in Florida, while on vacation, I made a decision, and that was, I'm going to not have work on getting a child. I'm not going to work. We was trying to do adoption and everything. I said, I'm not going to do that. And what I'm going to do, man, is I'm going to pour my life into as many men as possible. And your father, David, Smith, what's his first name?
Dwayne.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dwayne's, he was on the list, all of them. And I decided I'll make a vow. And when I made that vow, here we are many years later. And today is a great day for me because I found a picture of myself as I was getting all of my stuff in order, meaning you all remember when we moved out of the building, the Soul Factory, when we had the sound stage and everything, when we moved out of there, we had so many props and everything that came with us. And believe it or not, I'm just getting within the last 3 months, 3 months, just getting around to doing. Now, let me tell you what I'm just getting around. What did I ask you all to do when I was in the hospital in 2017? What did I ask you to come to my house and do? Do you remember? Deborah, what did you and your mother say y'all was going to come to my house and do?
Well, I know we came over there and prayed with you and was coming, because we came a few times. That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, but there was one time when you said, we want to come and help you get all your stuff in order. Remember? Because before I went into the hospital in 2017, I went out and bought all these totes and all these different things. You remember that?
Yep.
Well, I'm just getting around to that 4 months ago, where Jill and I, we, along with Daryl Hudson, we went through 2 trailers and did 3 dumpsters of stuff we had to throw away. And in doing so, it took me down memory lane. And so literally I was just going through some of my files and I saw a picture from South Africa called Eight Glorious Days, where we took 100+ African Americans over to South Africa to do missions. And when I saw it, I said, wow. So by the time I told you to call your brother, I said, God, once I saw the pictures of everybody, I said, I would love to talk with you two and pick up where, pick it up and just talk about a father and dads. And I told you in terms of Dwayne, your dad, I said, your dad did well, man. Your dad, I saw him make a lot of adjustments in his life. And I saw him buy you a car or give you his car. That's a dad move. And I saw what you all were able to do, Dave. And then what blessed me is that y'all did something in the airplane, didn't you?
Jumped out that plane.
Yeah.
Jumped out of a plane. How did that come about when y'all jumped out the plane?
Probably part of my dad's bucket list.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
one of my friends' ideas.
You said what?
I said one of my friends' ideas, but my dad was first in line. I was still thinking about it. My dad was like, "No, come on, man, let's go. So when we doing this?" I was like, "You."
Well, I think I'm going to do it. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. Now that I done lost my weight, before I wouldn't do it because they couldn't put me and somebody else with somebody on my back or something because I was too heavy. And so I had that excuse. But now that my lover is no longer food, I've lost that weight. So I wrote down the names of people that I have had the privilege of being able to disciple and teach. And I don't know if you remember Heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy. I remember having a moment with him on the basketball court with Kenny Wright. And I was out there just trusting God that I was going to pour my life into men, not knowing what the turnout would be. And several brothers are now pastors. I don't know all of these people's names, but I know I've heard over the years several brothers, and God bless you all, and sisters too, are now major ministers. I'm thinking about LaShawn. Is her name LaShawn?
Sean Butler.
LaShawn Butler. She is an awesome leader. And in her being an awesome leader, I had the privilege of being able to teach her and pour into their lives. And so in these last few years, I've been able to go down memory lane, and I'm glad I can remember names, because at one point, you all remember, my memory was so shot, I wouldn't even been able to tell you that. Well, LaShawn and her, Joe Barham, which is her husband now, I had the privilege of being able to live my life before him. And I don't know, have you all ever heard of the fishbowl that we do, what it means when you live your life in a fishbowl?
Yeah, I've heard that term.
Okay. Well, I've gotten to live my life in a fishbowl where a lot of people have been able to peer into me and look at my life and look at Jill's life. And I just wrote Mark Datcher. Mark Datcher, I call him Hitman. Mark Datcher, right around 2019, we were ready. You knew we was getting ready to go on television and do all these different things, David, and then life happened. But as we were planning to do this, Mark Datcher and I was sitting down talking, and he said, D, I'm on your right hip, man. I said, what? He said, listen, tell me what you want to do, and we can make it happen. Well, Mark Datcher and I, we became really connected. But I'll tell you also something about Mark Datcher that I had a privilege of being able to do that. We bumped heads. And we became really close up. And Mark Datcher was very instrumental in seeing to it that when I got totally weak, people don't know this, but I don't want to tell what he got because I'm sure he want to keep it a secret. Just know this. The only way I was able to do Fab 40 is because Mark Datcher made sure we had a sound system. And Mark Datcher made sure that it was worked out. And he said, D, I got your back. And when I came in on one of the Fab 40s in 2017, no strength, here I was. We had this system and we haven't missed a beat since then. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to read some of it. And so then I have Daryl Hudson. I had the privilege of being able to disciple Daryl Hudson and father him in the sense, and when you all hear me say this, please know that I'm not bringing attention to myself, but it's the only way that I can talk about my journey and what discipling men did for me. And Daryl Hudson, he has been so instrumental. He's the one that gave me rise to the hospital visits and all the different things. But he also helped me mastermind all the sets and the creativity and put things in order. And I've been thanking him without stop, ceaselessly, well, just thanking him because he put things in order and labeled everything so that it made it easy for us to go through all the stuff that we've stored in our storage thing. And so, Devereaux, what got me going, Devereaux, is you sent me a text. And in that text, you said to me, I don't know if I'll find it right here, but you said to me, the day I was there is the day you told me you loved me. Do you remember that, Devereaux?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, remind me of what happened that day.
So that was a monumental day, and I believe both of our lives.
Okay.
It was at that moment where I didn't feel worthy of being loved.
And how old were you?
12.
Well, wow. Go ahead.
I was 12 years old, getting ready to turn 12. I was 11 actually, and that was the year that, as you know, I got put out of school. And you and my mom was trying to figure out where I was at, came to look for me, and you couldn't find me that night. So eventually I came back and we came to your house the next day. And we got to your house the next day. And, you know, we had our situation. But at the conclusion of it, I was real upset. And I was walking with you and you was in front of me. And when we got to the door of your house, you stopped and you said, hey, man. And you looked at me. You said, you do know I love you, right? And I said, I haven't heard a man say that before to myself, to me. And I saw that you meant it. And when you said that, you said, you know, I'm here for you. And I saw that through your actions. So it was at that moment that I realized I didn't have to fight all the time. There was times I can be vulnerable and let people in this space. And it was just those words that you said that helped me start to, you know, mature and think of things differently and show love. Because I always show love, but be able to receive it.
I remember I got physical with you. I knew I wasn't going to hurt you or anything, but I was just trying to, and I wouldn't do that today because I wouldn't be alive. But you told me that as I was walking to the door, you told me one week, we talked about this last year sometime.
Yeah.
You said, what'd you say? you was about to get me, right?
I was sizing you up.
That's what you said. He was sizing me up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know the crazy you. Everybody else did, but I didn't know that you had that kind of anger problem. But you know, on that day you told me, this is such a blessed day. You told me, you said, I had a vision. You
Mhm.
fell asleep at a tree,
Yeah.
or you fell asleep, and remind us of what you experienced.
Absolutely. The day before I came to see you was a day that I fell asleep in the back of some woods. And I stayed there because I didn't know if I can go home. I didn't know where I can go. And I felt like I was alone. So the only thing I knew to do was stay in those woods until I got my mind straight. But what happened was I went to sleep. And when I woke up, that's when I saw that path in front of me. And it was very clear. And I heard a voice say, Devereaux, 3 times. And I put my hands up ready to fight because I said, it ain't gonna take advantage of me. And I thought it was somebody out there. When I looked around, there was nobody but me. And then I heard the voice again and I stopped. And I saw in front of me, it was a tree and it was 2 paths. And one path, it was to the right, one path was to the left. And I heard the voice as clear as you speaking to me, Jay, who it said, you're gonna choose the path of life or death. And then I also heard it say, are you gonna be an example of the man you want to see? And at that young age, I said, wow, I can start now putting those characteristics in place. So the good thing is I chose the path to the left because the path to the right led to a swamp. I didn't know that. But the one to the left led back to the road, to the street. And it was at that age that I decided I'm not turning back from the gift God gave me, from what I heard in those woods. And that was the direction. He said, be diligent with little and he'll bless me with many. And then I got a chance to come to your house and you helped confirm that when we had our conversation.
Wow. That's why this is such a beautiful day. And David, when did you and I connect? King David, when do you think we had our moment?
Well, there's a couple times. But I think one of the most significant times is when I think your car broke down.
That's what I was thinking.
Batmobile. It broke down
Right.
in Waldorf. And I was in a stage in my life where I didn't really understand. I had been going to church. I had been going to church all my life, but I hadn't actually chosen God for myself. So it's to the point of where I didn't take it seriously as if he was real. And a lot of people may think when you say I don't think God is real, it's like I'm an atheist, I don't believe in him. But more or less, more people show that they don't believe in God by their actions. And that's what it was. And so I'm going to church, but I'm still with whatever girl I was with in high school, still being sexual, regardless of what we learned. And you just had a frank conversation with me, which was shocking because this is the first time where it wasn't a doom and gloom conversation. So that was the first time I got to see this don't have anything to do with you physically doing something to punish me. This is your life and this is how you're deciding to spend it. And at the end of the day, God is who you have to deal with. And I think that was the first time that it was revealed to me that the judgment that comes on you is coming from the Lord. So whatever happens today, if you die tomorrow, you don't have to answer to Duran, you don't have to answer to Cabby. And you pretty much made that clear as opposed to how it normally went with us, where it's a lot of yelling and things. And that would be my conviction. And then I move on. Be like, well, Duran yelled at my mom, punished me. All right, well, then I guess that's it. And now I move on to another day. But at the end of the day, none of that matters. I had to realize I had to choose God for myself. And I think you said something along the lines of if I didn't make that decision on my own, I think you said I'd be cursed or something like that to that extent.
Let me tell you, I remember that moment because we were on that little side road and we were talking, and just like Devereaux said, that was a pivotal moment. That was a pivotal moment in both of our lives because I looked at you and I knew, I said, he's gone. And if he doesn't make this decision right now for himself, he is getting ready to take the wrong path. And I knew, and I had already made the mistakes, and we'll talk about it, the mistakes of trying to disciple and father men. And I was following my own dad in terms of raising my voice and this is some of the things I learned to be able to do when it comes to discipling and helping men. And I remember that day you pulled off, and I looked at you before you drove off, and I said, this is it. And I'm glad that you brought that moment, because that's the moment you made your decision, isn't it?
Yeah. Didn't feel like it, but yeah.
You said it didn't feel like it, right? And so that's great. And so what I did was, man, I wrote down, I watched my life in a fishbowl.
Mm-hmm.
And then so what I did was I wrote down these notes here. Jay Cameron, I didn't realize Jay Cameron has 4 children and he has become a great father. I didn't know that making that decision, that I would meet someone like him, that I would make mistakes and all kinds of stuff, but together we would begin. And one of my pivotal moments with him is that he had an anger problem. And I said, hey, listen, man, you're gonna have to reconcile you and the angry you and the creative you. And he did it. And in doing so, he became a great leader. And then there was Little Rivion Johnson Jr. He began to call me Unc. And I realized that he saw me as his father's brother. And I watched that happen even in his life. And then Justin, Glenn Brooks's son. Justin, I'll never forget, it was a pivotal moment in fatherhood when Glenn Brooks, he loved Justin, but he didn't have custody of Justin. And we were in Georgia, and Justin was cutting up bad. And the mother said, he kept trying to get Justin for years to be able to stay with him, but the mother wouldn't allow it for whatever reason. And then she got to a point where she said, he's got to come stay with you. And he was like, yes. And that was the beginning of Justin being discipled and fathered properly, because now Glenn had to speak into his life. And I'll never forget the conversation. When you make a vow to disciple men, I'll never forget the conversation when I said to Glenn, I said, hey, man, you got to understand that you're going to probably have to disciple your son. You're going to have to disciple your son. And you can't wait for the hold on real quick. Real quick, I'm coming right back.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Do you need somewhere to go? Do you need somewhere to pray?
Tell them, Dave.
Someone to pray with?
Right.
But join us at the Soul Factory live on Sundays at 8 p.m.
Hey, my wife, Jill, was walking out the
Well, now
door.
return to our regularly scheduled program already in progress.
All right. Jill was walking out the door, and I need to know where she was going and what was happening, and say, all right, I'll talk to you soon. So I was telling you about Glenn Brooks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying, when Justin was cutting up, I said, Glenn, you got to shut your life down with him. And you got to be able to speak into his life. And Justin, all you all were a part of, was it God's Sons, right? Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Why do you smile, David, when you hear that?
Man, the Godsons, that was the first time I actually had friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally like a community. If anybody knows who the Boys of Barack was, but it's almost like we had our own little Black Wall Street there. We moved, my mom and me and Deborah, we moved for years, so everything consistently changed for us. And so these was boys from several different states where the ties was never broken with us for years. And we just really got to learn each other in the culture. So.
Right. And do you know that God's sons was a part of maintaining a vow? But you all had no idea. I saw Ashley Montgomery, Dave Thompson, who else?
Terrence.
Who? Terrence Jones. Who else?
Julian Jenkins.
Huh?
Julian Jenkins.
Julian Jenkins. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Julian Jenkins.
And Joey.
What I saw happening, man, you all didn't see it. I remember we did it on the risers. And it was on the right risers. And you all, I saw them, Ashley Montgomery and all, and they picked this up. And they decided that they were going to carry it out. And I told them, remember at one point I had all you all, y'all had to wear a shirt at one point, didn't you?
I think so.
Didn't y'all have to get dressed up and wear a suit jacket?
Oh, yeah. We had to go down there to Marshalls or something, get a suit and tie and all this other stuff.
Right. And because I knew, and I was so thankful, so it wasn't just me. It was all the other men who got together and decided, Rivion Johnson, he did, what did he do? They did, when they went to Georgia, they did something with the teens and the young adults, because it takes men to be able to make this, and it takes committed women to be able to make this happen. And so Elliot Montgomery, I don't know if you know Mr. Elliot Montgomery.
Yeah,
he is a great dad. And I remember him telling me, and you said what?
We know Elliot.
We know Elliot.
Okay. Yeah, and he told me he's a great dad. And he told me, he said, tell me where you at. But Elliot Montgomery and Ashley Montgomery had Mr. Montgomery, who, although he had some issues in his life early on, he became one of the best coaches known in the land. And then Elliot Montgomery and Ashley Montgomery became that. Then I have here, I'll just go Joe and Asia. Y'all don't know Joe started in Asia, do you? You don't know.
I know him a little bit.
Yeah, I think
just a little bit.
Just a
little bit, right?
Yeah, that's the dude that look like Will Downing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, he messed around, and I don't know if y'all know I don't even know if you know how he and I encountered one another. I was doing Jamaica Grill, and he was all into the restaurant, and he turned us on to certain food accounts and all that kind of stuff. And I said, come on down here, man, and give us a hand. So he rode with me 24/7 as we built Jamaica Grill. And he helped us to put the assembly line together, do all this stuff together. And that's when I began to realize that he had a life, that he had gone through some abuse in his own life. And that he'll tell you, but one of the cuts that he has on his head is a direct result of him falling through a table. And he too was very apprehensive, but he was very aggressive, but very apprehensive. But I watched him take on the mantle of being a good dad. I watched him, you all don't know this, but he was working in Jamaica Grill with me, and he Costco, I think that was the count we got. I think it was Costco's or something. This is before Costco's was a store. It was an account. And he messed around and got us a food account there. But right then and there, I realized he later had his children, and we call it the Lego season. He would build a house. Did he ever tell y'all he built a Lego house? He built a house out of Lego blocks. And this is why I'm telling you all these lessons that I'm talking about. I watched men. I learned a lot by fathering and discipling men. And he decided that he told the kids, and they were much, much younger, he said, if I get it wrong, then I got to tear one of the walls down. But I cannot finish this house until we are able to complete all of our family meetings and do what we're supposed to do. And he and Asia, they did a great job in raising their children, because as they got together, they put lists on the wall, they did to-do lists, they had family meetings, they did all these different things, and it blessed me because I began to realize that you reap what you sow. What was Felicia? Y'all, I don't remember. Y'all remember Felicia's husband's name? I can never remember his name.
Oh, Damien.
Huh?
Hold on. Is it Damien? I'm mixing up people.
I think it is Damon.
Yeah.
At Texas, say, tell me your husband's name, and then tell me while we're talking. Let me tell you why. I didn't get to really work with him, but he was in the church. But he became an exemplary father because his son, you know his son, right? Their son went to college. And when he went to college, he was so happy with his son, and he did such a great relationship with his son and tell him how proud he was. And I was just blessed because I know that he and Felicia had gone through all kinds of things that had happened, and they were now doing well. And just to see that, you know, Felicia, I don't know if you knew, did y'all know Felicia sat in one of the first boyfriend-girlfriend things that I did? She was in the audience, and she became a great leader and took on both of our spirits. I'm going to keep going. The godsons. Then you had the goddaughters. Do y'all remember them?
The Divas.
The Divas.
Huh?
The Divas.
The Divas. Yep, the Divas. And so, girls' experience. I went through all the photos that I did recently, and the girls, a girls' experience where I took a picture with at least 300 girls. But I didn't do this by myself. Soldiers came about, and I'm trying to tell you all, when you make a vow, the purpose of us having this conversation, I don't know the true purpose, but when you make an inner vow, you can't give up on that vow. Mm-hmm. And you got to keep going. So when you have that vision, Deborah, to the left and to the right, that was the day I knew you heard from God. Because that day you started talking to me, I said, he didn't get this out of book. And I knew that is the way God has spoken to me. And I knew when you said I had to make a decision, because I think you swung on a police officer, didn't you?
Yeah, that's how we got there.
There you go. I remember. Right.
And I tell you, I was talking about it yesterday. I said, if me and Deborah was born 10 years later, we'd probably be dead because the things we did and the way the world is now.
Wow.
It was nothing but favor that kept us from that, you know.
Really?
It was nothing but God's favor, because that situation, I should have definitely been in a whole different predicament. But God saw fit that he would use that, that energy, that fight, that passion, and connect me with brothers like, you know, yourself, Ashley, Will, all these fellas who came in, and they were actually the village that we needed in order to get to where we're at. Will
Washington, he too became he's a great dad. And I watched him really, he and Joy, watched them become great parents and go through that. But you were saying, how did Will help you guys?
Well, I would say Will was probably one of the most consistent men in my life.
Really?
You know? Yeah, I met him when I was real young. And not too many people, unfortunately, knew how to deal with my aggression. They would label it as something. They would say, you know, he barbaric, things like that. But Will was one of the guys who actually helped me use my gift. He took me to the gun range at a young age. I think I was like 9, 10. He let me experiment. He let me work out a lot, fight, do what I need to do. And then showed me how it relates to the scriptures and showed me how warriors were in biblical times. And when I got to make that connection, I said, wow, God, there's a lot of people out there just like me. David in the Bible, Noah, all these warriors. But I didn't learn those stories until I was around 9 or 10. So I started studying more, asked God, show me what I'm supposed to do with this energy. And that's where I got connected with more and more men. And each time they came in, they gave me a piece of the puzzle. Roy Bowman, a piece of the puzzle. And I was so grateful. And when it was their time to leave and go do what God called them to do, no animosity, God said they were here for a point in time and a point in season. And I was grateful for that interaction that we had.
You know, when you mentioned his name, I wrote his name here, Roy Bowman. He became a man's man. Roy Bowman, I met him through another ministry, and he and I began to talk. And he was very smart, he could touch some things. And I remember challenging him in some areas. And one of the things, and remember this, and I know you know this, but whenever you are working with men, you're going to have those moments where you challenge them. And you're going to I had to challenge, and you have to challenge them and say, hey man, what are you doing? Are you doing this or are you not doing it? And because Roy would say right, wrong, or indifferent. I said, it's either right, it's wrong, or it's indifferent, but it can't be all three. And he turned around and became a man's man. And so when I saw him go on to raise all the leaders he was raising, and I saw their character, I was very happy. And I'm not taking any ownership of Roy Bowman's discipleship. I just had the privilege of encountering him and watching him do what he did. Now you're just letting me know again that he was instrumental in your life. I think it was you, David. He was instrumental in your life too, wasn't he? Y'all had a moment in the bedroom. Huh?
Me and Roy became best friends because at first I was his worst enemy.
Yeah,
I decided
okay.
I was gonna try to date the preacher's daughter. Yeah. So I love you so much, Roy. If you're listening, we good friends now, and that woman is happily married with 2 kids. So, so yeah, Roy was definitely there for me a lot. Roy, oh man, if anybody knows Roy's story, he was a person like I never seen before. He's like some type of movie. He raised himself. I know he left his house at an early age when he was a child.
He was in his own apartment and he left.
Yeah, and he put himself through military and then became a cop and now he's a pastor. So it was a story I never heard. But him and as well as Will was one of the first people I got to talk to and not feel judged at all. And I could feel it was real. He's the first person that let me talk and then wouldn't tell me about all the consequences I was going to suffer because of what I'm doing. And I would say a big turning point, I don't know if it was before or after that moment me and you had, but he had gave me a book called Every Man's Battle. And that book just changed everything about how I thought about myself as a man and sexually and being with other women and things like that, and what it meant to actually preserve yourself other than just what I heard. I got a chance to talk to somebody who's been down some wrong paths and share with me the experiences of his life and just tell me what he went through, but that's it, and left it at that. And so sometimes when you actually have a person talking to you and not at you,
that's right.
It really it hits your heart. And I think that's what a lot of those guys did. They didn't talk at us.
Right.
They stayed level, which I've noticed that's the difference between a warrior and a soldier. They always have a leveling in their tone and in their actions is always here. Now they can get up here and they can do things,
right,
but they always stay here. And I got to see that composure. And I said, okay, I'm getting to see what a man is. I can see what a warrior is. You have to now control your action. You have to control your decisions.
Right. And you know, I'm thinking about that. You're blessing me because when you said it can be up here, I was there at one point. And that's why you said, you know, Duran didn't yell at me, because one day I was sitting on at a Wizards game when Michael Jordan had come back and he was playing. And he wasn't back yet. I take that back. I was sitting at a Wizards game and I was by myself behind the basketball court. And sure enough, I couldn't understand why I was having a lot of character run-ins with people. And then Wisdom said, ask yourself this, would you follow you? Would you follow you? And I said, No. He said, then how do you expect others to want to follow you? And then I wrote down a list of everything as to why I wouldn't follow me. And I made a decision to make a change. And one of the things I wanted to write down is something I found out. Oh, I got to disciple Damon Applewhite.
Mhm.
He became a great leader. And Mo Francis,
Yeah,
he became a great leader. Why you smiling, man?
yeah, Mo, man, Mo was all right, you know. Him and
Yeah,
Demond. Yeah.
right.
And even Demond, man, I remember that time we was covering the buffet and he was out there squaring up with one of the kids or something. I said, man,
Golden Corral. I remember
yeah,
Yeah, he sure was, wasn't he? I
Hey,
remember
but
telling I said, Demond, y'all can't go hard on these people like this, man.
oh,
But this is all we knew at that time.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And it was good. It was good, D, because
Mhm.
what it was a shock to our system. We knew at school, if we had any type of male authority come at us or women authority, we could say what we want, and all they can do is send our parents a letter.
Really?
You know, yeah, it was just something verbal, and we knew like, all right, whatever, y'all ain't talking about nothing. But we didn't know we was encountering dudes that could actually put their hands on us legally, and then nobody tell us. I mean, I know Rivian, he probably watching and know what I'm about to say. There was a show that came out where guys were doing stupid stunts, and I thought I'd be one of those guys too, with my mother's property.
God was doing what?
I said there was a show that came out where guys were doing stunts, and I said I thought I'd do a stunt with my mother's property. I said, i.e. her car. So I called myself going to jump and roll over on the car. Now Rivian understood more about what that car meant to my mother than I did, and so he was like, "Why you out here playing?" I'm just thinking he yelling, and he said, "You think? So you think this funny? You think it's funny?" And that's the first time in my life I ever been hit, but didn't know I was about to be. I heard what he said, and then I remember my head shifted, and then I like hit the floor, but I didn't know somebody just hit. He punched me in my face. I was 15. I was like, I said, can't believe you just hit me. He was like, get up, and that was with the left. Oh, you getting up? I didn't know what to do. I just was like, this 40-year-old man just hit me. He ain't my father. He just punched me in my face. No explanation. I can't say. I woke up that day. That might have been the day Jesus talked to me there.
He said that might have been the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard.
Nah, man, it was good because we got to see raw authenticity of men. You know, I was tired of hearing people tell me what I should do, how to live, things like that. And I'm like, y'all not struggling the way we struggling. But I got to see men who would genuinely came from nothing, came from dirt, changed their lives around, and wasn't just preaching. They were living it day in and day out. Jehu, I will say, man, the best thing that you ever done for myself was I got to see you each and every time go out there and serve the people. There was not one time when you said, well, y'all go out there and I'm going to be in the comfort of my mansion or something. You came out and you diligently gave. And when you were dead tired, you said, all right, we got a little bit further to push. And we was right there. The reason why I give it the way I do now, I got to see it in the kingdom. I got to see it be done so many times and connect with people that were homeless, you know, and at one point, you know, we were homeless, but I had got to see people just like me. And I said, wow, God, these are all your children. And we all have a valuable piece in the kingdom. And when I saw you do it for years, and then I saw all the men that came out, all the people we helping Forest Creek. It's people now, Jay, it's funny. They said, I remember you when you was 8 years old at Second and D's homeless shelter. I said, how you remember me? I must look the same, huh? But yeah, the guy was like, yeah, I remember you, man. And he talked about you as well. So it just shows those small things that we sowed all those years ago that you sowed is reaping, man. This is the harvest and it's coming through. And we're going to carry on the next mission, the next wave, and there'll be many more.
And when you talk about getting hit in the face, I'm with you. Well, these people getting physical. What's the guy who would say they talking about practice? They talking about practice.
Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson said that his father or stepfather or his coach, I don't know if it was his coach or his stepfather, and there wasn't, he did something and cut up, and his father came and slammed him on the car. And I think it was his coach or something like that. I saw it in a documentary. And he said, and I want anybody who's watching, we are not advocating people get beat up or slammed or punched in the face. This was back in the 90s. This was way before they was doing big time drive-bys and all of that. But Allen Iverson said that was the day he realized that that man cared about him. Because the man said, I'm not going to let you mess up your future. You are going to do. Did you all ever see that thing with Allen Iverson?
I think so, yeah. The
documentary. Yeah. And so then there was, I have more things written down here that there's something I ran into too, man. And I'm sure you did it. No, let me just say, I've been talking about men, but Miss Emily, y'all know Miss Emily, right?
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, about 3.5 years ago, I was going through and I called her and I wanted her to talk with me because she's always giving me cards and all this stuff. And I said, listen, I want to call you my mom's. Then you can be my church mom. And Miss Emily said, She said, I can't be your mom because you're my spiritual dad. I said, what? I said, I'm not that. I said, this ain't. She said, no, that's the wrong way. And I couldn't believe that this woman who was older than me was saying this to me. But I realized that when remember when Joe was going through, he said, I was able to even speak to my elders and my teachers, right, and help them out. And sure enough, she was very helpful with me. And here's one of the things I found out, and we can pretty much end our conversation or wherever we are right here, was that I found out that when your life is in a fishbowl, because I didn't make all the right choices, guys, that I had a connection with people according to the project. But once the project was over, I went on to the next phase. Well, the people who had opened their hearts to me, I began to realize that they had such an aggression because they put on me the things that they could not put on their parents. And they began to blame me, and they would say, hey, you was there, but then you wasn't there no more. And I had to then learn, Duran, when a man opens his heart to you, and had I damaged your trust, because there's some people I damaged their trust because I didn't know how to. I don't have red glasses on right now, but the red glasses I did because sometimes I was too aggressive and I did the wrong things. But here, man, I realized that, and when you're blessing me, Devereaux, and what's the name, I realized that I watched these men that you work with, like Rivion Johnson, Ruth's son. Do you remember, Ruth's son's name?
No, I know he was in a bunch of the
Pierre.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He said Rivion is one of the best men that he's ever met, because Rivion really was a blessing to him, to help him. And I didn't realize that I had one conversation with Ruth at Walker Mill. This is when you were 8 years old, Devereaux, or you was 7 or 8, because you was having asthma attacks all the time. And you were the reason I built a baby room, because you would come in there making all this noise. Well, Pierre said, I told Ruth, I said, tell Pierre your entire life story. And she just told me this 4 weeks ago, that sure enough, when she did that, Pierre said that was the day that he and his mother ended up having a really good relationship. Speaking of mothers, I told you all this. I call your mother Wonder Woman or Wonder Mother, because Cabby is one of the best leaders that I've ever had the privilege of being able to disciple. And I'll never forget, you know, when you say you all was homeless, what do you mean? I mean, I just don't want to make the assumption. I know. What do you mean we were homeless?
Like literally, we didn't have a place to stay. Because you know, my dad, I know when he got locked up and things like that, we didn't have the money, and so we were living, you know, from place to place, and not places of our own. But we had to actually get a. I hadn't thought about this in years. We actually had to find other people to live with, and it went on for years, to the point of where we were almost to the point of living out of the van that we had. It's just my mother scheduled the time so well, we just thought we'd get picked up from school, not knowing she'd been in that van all day. And I still have it.
The canister
over here. I still have this thermos.
Take your time.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I said take your time.
Oh, it might be breaking up. Okay.
Okay.
I'm back.
No, I said take your time. I thought you was getting ready to get a thermos.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know where it is, but yeah, there's this thermos I have that keeps things hot for like 12 hours. But the point of that is, there was something she bought because we didn't have anywhere to go in between the day. So she put the hot water in there so that we can have oodles and noodles, oatmeal, whatever the case is, always in the truck, always in the van, and the water would still be hot all day so that we can eat throughout the day. And it just made me think about those few meals that we had in that car is what we do on Fridays, on the weekends for the kids and stuff. That's what we're giving them now. The food drive that we took place today, we're giving to them what we were given to.
Exactly.
So really?
We thought of Kids Eat Free before that's what it was.
Wow. And that's why I said your mom's. I'll never forget, she was Jill's assistant, and she ended up becoming my assistant in terms of helping me. And this is what I love about your mother, man. I love about Renee Johnson too. They were able to put things in order and make them make sense. And what I loved about your mom's was that she made a decision that when I didn't realize you all were living in and out of vans during the time. At one point, she was working with me. And I realized, wait a minute, she's struggling. And yet she made sure she was consistent with you all and with people. And she took on the mantle, she and Bertha.
Yep.
That's right.
Packed up that whole factory almost, it feel like. Remember when we were moving?
Yep.
And Bertha, her moms, they got together, and I'm telling you, because your mother didn't BS me. I'm here because your mother saved my life when I called her. I called her when I had my aneurysm in 2016, I believe. No, it was 2015. And I had the aneurysm. And I called her, and she was the last call I could make. And I said, Cabby, do me a favor, call the ambulance, I'm dying. And she said, what are you saying, Duran? I said, I'm dying. And because she understood, she did it immediately. And there were a lot of things she put in order. And once I found out her story, you know, I don't know if you all remember, your mother was a map surveyor in the government. But what you all don't know is that I watched her have to work all kinds of hours so that she could keep a roof over you all's head and do what needed to be done. And guess what? She saw to it that you all were raised properly. And then when I see you all take care of her, by the time she ended up in the hospital and I watched you all taking care of her, I said, Father, this became full circle. But she was one of the best leaders because she raised other leaders.
Mm-hmm.
All the sisters that I ended up working with, and men too, she taught them. Didn't she have meetings at the apartment with sisters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had meetings with them, and she would help them deal with their mess and all this stuff. Alita, Tammy, Sexy, his wife, Crystal. I done ran into problems now. I can't remember no more on that one. But notice she became one of the best leaders I ever had the privilege. And then Tony in Atlanta, female Tony and male Tony. They became Rob West. Did y'all ever have an encounter with Rob West?
I mean, on the tech team, yeah, Rob's cool. I know
Rob is cool.
I know he ain't one to play with though.
Oh, why you say that?
I don't remember. There was something that didn't sit right with Rob a couple years ago, and I could just see. I said, "Yeah, you don't want to mess with Rob." But
He
yeah,
told
Rob.
you said what?
I said I can't remember what the encounter was, but I could tell the way he was moving, and he was just. I said, "Man, he going back to some place. I don't know where it is in his mind, but I said, this ain't about to end well for somebody. I don't know what was going on." But he was getting upset. But yeah, I've learned a lot of order from Rob West. You know, he may not be the most talkative person sometimes if you don't know him, but I definitely learned order and watched him. That's the first time I really got to watch a guy raise his daughter from birth and stay there and be there.
What do you mean raise his daughter and what?
I said that's the first time I got to see somebody raise a daughter from birth. Like I met him
right
before his daughter was born, and so I just got to watch and see who she became on the outside looking in. And so I just got to see and experience him as a good father just from watching him. And that's what some of these guys, if we weren't in direct contact with them every day, a lot of lessons learned from them is just watching who they were.
Right.
Yeah.
I just read a letter from his daughter, Sasha. She wrote a letter to me about 5-6 years ago. And what she was going to do and what she was doing with her life. And I watched he and Tony, they stuck it out and they soldiered it out. And he did a great job. And to be a stepdad and a biological dad, he showed the same love to everybody. So it was more than fair. Hey man, I'm looking.
Mm-hmm.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Well, Devereaux said something about you. My thing, Devereaux, what he saw from you was the leadership and giving back to the people. What I saw from you and other men, but especially you, is a person that can make mistakes, but keep going. Because normally what you see sometimes if somebody makes too big of a mistake publicly, they feel like, oh man, I need to back out. I need to get out the limelight. But you kept moving forward. You kept moving forward. And that's when I got to see a person, regardless of anything you said to me, that's when I actually got to see somebody make these mistakes and do it. And just actually see that happen and see a ministry still move forward. And you wasn't trying to cover up nothing. That's a lot of reasons why people my age don't go to church. And don't even take invitations if I tell them to come to my church, because everybody knows it's fake. Somebody called, one of my friends said, I don't want to go to no push church. And I said, what's a push church? She said, well, they were talking about praying until something happens. I had never heard that before, that acronym, but that's what I got to see. And that's why I stayed. It wasn't just coming for praise and worship, but I got to see somebody do and make mistakes just like I make mistakes, but they kept moving forward and kept the faith. And be faithful to your wife.
Right.
That's very rare for us. Me and you talked about that the other day after watching that movie. The agenda now is you are supposed to be married and have somebody on the side. Like that's just standard now. That's the new. But just to see you make mistakes and then continue to get up, no matter what it was, personal or publicly. And I think that was a big experience too, because we got to see not just what happens in church, we also got to experience a lot of your life personally and see things mess up. And then you continue to keep going. And that's why I'm here today and was able to continue to move forward as a man, and even I'll say try again with trying to get married, because a lot of people know I tried this once before with somebody else and it didn't work. And I thought that was going to be the end of me. I was going to be embarrassed. I was going to be just done with it. I said, I'm gonna go back to my old ways. But God reminded me of the things that I saw. And so the things and the actions I saw from you, what people don't know, that's spiritual there. That stuff gets instilled in you. It's no different than somebody negatively watching something you shouldn't watch and can't figure out why you're reacting from what you watch. That was a seed planted in me to watch you persevere through your mistakes and watch you persevere and stay with your wife through almost a divorce and come back together. I said, okay. Okay. I said, and to sum it all up, that's what children do. I know a lot of people might have left the church and things like that, but if you, like you said, not my biological father, but you're my father, if my father do something today, he go do something outlandish. He'd kill somebody or something. It doesn't not make him my father. It just makes him my father that made a mistake. And I can't just leave. It's not for me to leave, because that's when I learned I'm not the person to judge somebody. Me departing from their space does not do any bad or good to their life, or it's not a punishment to them. Let me escape this person. And so I say, hey, people leave and judge. I say, well, that's just my dad, man. He make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. I made plenty of them.
Wow. I made a big mistake. I mean, when you say, I made a decision not to hate my tribe.
Yeah.
I decided I would not hate my tribe. And although I would make a mistake, I said, I learned that I wasn't perfect. And Devereaux, God told me right off of 301 and Croom Road. He said, your name is Jehu. I was in the car, the same way you had the vision in that woods. And he said, your name is Jehu Phoenix. This is before brain cancer, before all these different things, the church splits and everything. And he said, and I said, why? He said, because if you go back and study his life, you will see that he was one of the best men in the Bible, and he went straight at Jezebel and anybody else. Mm-hmm. And he went against the false prophets, because you said something about all these false prophets on the internet and all this stuff. And I called myself that. And when you say that, Dave, to see me keep trying, fathers get misunderstood. We have a heart, but we can become misunderstood. And one time I was out front. No, I was going through a really tough time, Devereaux. And you remember we'd be backstage. I was doing Equilibrium, hashtag, and some other stuff. And I do boyfriend, girlfriend, and you would be back there helping me set up. And you would call me Jehu. And you remember, I would be crying back there, trying to get myself together, because I was having problems with my mother, problems with my sister, problems with people in the church, everything. And I just knew you got to go back on that stage and do it again. And what blessed me, Devereaux, is that you remain consistent, and you too, David, in calling me Jehu. And Jehu meant that I was going to keep going and not stop.
That's right.
Keep doing it and not stop. And I had to change even when y'all say almost a divorce, I had to even change with my wife. And really, today, I'm so glad she gave this to me, but I went upstairs today and said, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I said, the reason I'm sorry, it was a little red card that she wrote in November of 2013, October of 2013. And she wrote it after a Sunday service when I got up there, and I was just buck wild. And she said, when talking doesn't work, on the letter, when talking doesn't work. And she says, I do not know if you are able to change or be the person that you need to be, but I don't want this energy in my life. And I don't want that to be a part of my life. And she said, I want you to change, but you haven't. And I don't think I can go on with that. And when I read that, man, this morning, because it's one of the things I kept, and I wouldn't read it, but today I decided to read it because she had been pleading for a long time, man, for me to change and for things to happen. And I repented again and said, baby, I'm so sorry that it took me so long to change. But what has blessed me today, you all, is that all these names, and I want to make sure I got them all in. Emily, Tony I can't think of his last name. I call him Ike Turner. He started by mopping the floor with Daryl, the stage, and became a great director. I wouldn't have been able to be right here. Just as you all say, we would probably be dead. I wouldn't be here if he hadn't taken over during Fab 40, when you all came and we were in Epiphany, and then you all took over to be able to help me to get that done. Larry Johnson. Y'all know Larry Johnson in Atlanta. Became a great dad. Donald Zachary. I don't know, what's his son's name?
Donald Zachary.
That's what I was thinking. Donald Zachary. He said, you taught us how to do this, although he's a veteran, but he got it together and changed his life around. And he kept Kids Eat Free going in Georgia. Jermaine Norman, did y'all ever encounter him?
Mm-hmm.
Jermaine Norman and Rivian, they kept things going. Daryl Martin, I don't know, Daryl and Jackie Martin, they became excellent leaders. And Jackie Martin, she was a doctor, but she would come out and serve and stay late and leave her practice and come and stay late at night and then come back the next day. I think I've hit everybody's name that I can remember right now. Earl Conley. I would say Earl's doing it by himself, y'all. He's doing it by himself because Earl Conley, he came and made sure that we got Wardorf happening. And he was also very instrumental in helping me learn how to love men. Hey, I'm glad you all had this conversation with me. I don't know what we did, but I want to thank all you fathers out there for being good fathers. All you fathers for being great fathers. Did I talk about Ed?
I was just about to say, that's the only person I was going to say.
What was you going to say about Ed?
Ed has always been, I always stop to listen to Ed because he's not going to raise his voice. So it's like, Ed start talking, you be like, what you saying, Ed? Like, hey, listen, big man.
Can you repeat that again? You said Ed is not going to what?
I said Ed's not going to raise his voice.
Say it again.
He's not going to raise his voice.
You only know him as a man of God.
That's the amen right there. That man is turned around. Amen.
You said, what'd you say, Deborah?
I said, that's the amen right there. I said, that man Ed turned it around from all those anger problems, and then he started to live a life of peace and show that in his assertiveness. So
he sure did. So the fact that you can say that, what was your experience with Ed, Deborah?
I was gonna say that's it right there. That man there, he shows up, he leads, he asks questions, and he listens. That's one thing that I've seen certain leaders do that are effective. They listen, and then
Right.
he makes adjustment. So that brother there has raised up so many just by being diligent. I'm grateful for his life, man. And all the fellas that you mentioned, happy Father's Day to you all, and the
Yep.
ladies. Y'all played the role of a father figure as well.
Right. That's it.
It's an
Man,
honor.
fellas, I thank you for giving me this gift today. And it was unplanned. But just to have this conversation with you all and to go back down memory lane and to see God's work. This is great. And Ed, the last thing I'll say with Ed and Taya, they did a great job with Eden and Evan.
Yeah.
Because they did prayer, and it got to a point that Eden and Evan would choose to watch Roots before they would look at regular TV. And they became great leaders. Eden became a great leader. And guys, that's Dave, I'm glad you made the adjustment to have this conversation with me, finding out 10 minutes before we get ready to do it. And I thank you. I'm going to take a break and get my head together and, Lord willing, get ready for tomorrow.
Amen.
Thank you. And remember, I have this shirt that says, I am not the stepdad. I'm the dad who showed or stepped up.
That is what you did.
Amen.
I thank you, Deborah. I thank you for picking up the Kids Eat Free. I thank you, Sexy, Crystal, Kirk, and all the Kids Eat Free crew. I thank you. And all those who I made a mistake, please forgive me if I offended you in any way. I am a man who has been humbled by life. And I'm glad to be a dad today. And I give you all the honor and the glory, God. Dave, I'm done. I can say goodbye. I thank you. Should I just go ahead and leave or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna end it. For everyone watching, tune in tomorrow at 8 o'clock and 10 a.m. to continue this conversation. Amen.
All right. Thank you, handsome guys, and showing me that you can grow a beard. Much love.
Amen. Much love.